Welcome to Rock Book Show, everyone. I'm Kimberly Austin, and with me today is the legendary Mitch Ryder, who's written a phenomenal book called Devils and Blue Dresses. Mitch, why did you decide to write this book?
I've been asked a lot of times. I think the number one motivation was a challenge. I have spent most of my career trying to rebuke the fact that Bob Crew, when I became successful with records in America, there was this perception on the part of the public that I was a manufactured star. So I set upon this long journey to prove myself an artist, and I believe I've succeeded. I have 31 CDs to attest to that. Unfortunately, 20-something of them, or 27 of them, are from overseas. The American public's not aware of them. We're trying to remedy that. And on that journey, I began to write my own lyrics and compose my own music and try to prove my point. And I understood when I got to a point where I was comfortable with that situation, not mastered it, but was getting a lot of joy out of what I was writing, I began to look for a new challenge. And I said, okay, write a book. I didn't know if I could, and I wanted to find out. And last night I picked up an IPPY Award, first place gold medal in the performing arts category. So I was shocked because I didn't write that to win medals. I wrote it to tell my story. And apparently I've won one or two more awards for the book as well. So mission accomplished. So the question is, will I continue to write now? I've already involved myself. I'm in the middle of a musical, another CD, and probably another book at this point. In fact, I can say with certainty, to let the cat out of the bag, that I already started another book.
You want to tell us a little bit more about the next book?
No.
You know, it's interesting that you're involved in a musical. John Mellencamp is actually involved in a musical as well. And I'm really glad I got to hear your side of that story. Do you feel the same way about it as you did when you wrote the book?
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of flack about it, but the truth is the truth. John, there's no question that he gave me a break that I probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere else, and I'm grateful for that. But why sugarcoat it and not say, you know, he was looking out for himself too? And the only reason I was even compelled to tell the story about what happened with the money, I was comfortable and honored that he had picked me, but then he had the nerve, and it hurt me a little bit, to tell me that he had choices, that he could have picked, who was it, Donovan, Eric Burden, and one other artist, but he picked me. And that kind of stung a little bit. I suppose it should have been taken as a compliment, but that's why I think he's a little bit like me. We say stuff that we think is harmless, and it ends up hurting people. It's sort of a Midwestern flaw. Probably something in the gene pool in the Midwest. I'm not sure. I have no hard feelings against John, and John's ego is such that he would just rather forget me, you know. And so what? We'll see each other again, I'm sure.
Yeah, you probably will. You mentioned something interesting, too, when you talked about manufactured, people thinking you were a manufactured star. In case somebody doesn't know, you found fame very early in your 20s, very early 20s. And you probably see these kids today, as I do, who come from Disney, and I could certainly argue that they are manufactured stars as well. Does it ever give you pause at all? And do you think, oh, my gosh, God bless whatever comes down your path after this?
Yeah, but I think they're a little bit more learned in terms of what's going to be happening. They come with if they're smart, they'll come with their own army of attorneys. But like I said in the book, the slimy, creepy creatures of the industry are still there. They just talk a new language and dress in a different dress. So these kids, the Disney kids we'll call them, are somewhat manufactured stars, but they're talented as hell. And their careers are set in place because that's a package they're getting involved in now. The people that promote them, the people that publish them, the people that put on their concerts, they're all part of one big group that are working together. So their destiny is decided for them completely. Whereas when I got involved in it, it was a matter of luck. We knew Bob Crewe was talented. We knew I was talented. We knew he was connected. There's three things in making a star. You need talent, connections, and then it's timing or luck is the third element. And nobody can predict that. So even with these Disney kids, as we're calling them, timing is essential. Is the psyche of the nation ready for this? But God, like I said, they're so talented. How can you close your eyes and close your ears when you're witnessing such great talent in front of you, you know? We were too young to become stars at that time. Now they're more prepared for it. But let's go back to the beginning of the last century when you had the child movie stars. They were that was a whole new area. It's really interesting to read about the court battles that went on over the money and the rights to the future of these children, really. So I was 19 when we recorded our first hit, and I think I turned 20 as it was number 10 or something like that. I was also married. Got married when I was 18, and I wouldn't recommend that to anybody either. So, I hadn't grown up yet.
I think that Jackie Coogan law really saved a lot of young kids back in that time, and now especially.
Saved me.
Unfortunately, and that's another thing we probably should mention is you were unfortunately one of those artists that signed a horrible deal and got taken advantage of with a lot of money lost. Does that give you pause at all when you see people still signing bad deals with all the knowledge you think they would have at this point?
Fame is a really curious thing in our country. When I see people going on television willing to throw their dignity out the window, their self-respect, sense of self, just to be seen on TV and be able to tell what few friends they have that they were on national television, it gives you a really good glimpse into what fame means in America at the lowest end. So it's a broad brush that we use when we use the word fame, and there's a lot of filth and dirt involved in it, and yet at its most beautiful and wonderful heights, it's something to behold. It gives us stars, voices, faces that will last lifetimes, that we take to our graves with us. And, nothing's permanent. All of these stars that we're talking about, you talk about Coogan. The people that adored him are almost all long gone now. They're dead. The new stars, the new idols belong to a new generation. It's the soundtrack of our lives and the movie of our lives. The entertainment business is simply meant to make people happy, and I feel good about that part of it. I've spent my life trying to make people happy. Unfortunately, on the way, I've made myself miserable, but I ended up making most of them happy.
You certainly have, and for many, many years as well. When you said you made yourself miserable on the way, I read a lot of rock memoirs. I've read a lot of just memoirs. And I have to tell you, Mitch, that by page 6 in your book, I could not believe how many things you had revealed and how shocking they were. You were beyond brutally honest, beyond candid. Was that a decision you made before you even started writing the book, or as you started writing the book, that no matter what, you were going to tell the real story?
Yeah, because most of the story took place in either New York or Detroit. And I live in Detroit, and I didn't want to spend my remaining years on this planet defending myself against people that were going to call me a liar. So, like my mom said, tell the truth and you won't have to argue so much. So, it was a conscious decision not to be brutally honest, just to tell it the way it happened, you know. And unfortunately, some of the truth was so ugly that when the book was vetted, we lost maybe 55 pages.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, you also had some good times and some amazing musical relationships. What are some of your favorite people you've worked with?
For me, my pleasure comes from voices, not personalities of people I hung out with and had fun with. I mean, I have great stories, like about James Brown, who managed to get me on my knees in front of him, sort of like a king would have and he did it. The way he did it was really tactful and ingenious. But that was James. Yeah. But that's not what that means to me. What means the most to me are these voices that are one of a kind. They're irreplaceable. You can listen to Johnny Mathis, and nobody on the other planet sounds like Johnny Mathis. You can listen to Nat King Cole, and nobody on the planet ever sounded like him. So that's what thrills me, is you find these individual voices. There aren't that many of them when you think of the thousands and thousands of singers that come out every year. And then to come up with a voice that will stick with you and haunt you into the night. Aretha Franklin, Dinah Washington was another for me. But there's not that many of them that really they stand out because their voices are so unusual. And that's, for me, the big thrill out of being involved in music, is not who did I hang out with, how drunk did we get, how high did we get, you know. Those things happened for sure, but it's more about voices, sounds.
And you also use your voice for your fellow man. And I like in the book that you talk about the charity work that you do. You said something very profound, and I'm going to actually just paraphrase, but coming from a working class family and that line between poverty and lower middle class, how we react to being in the game, and that we deserve to be in the game just as well as anybody else.
Well, it's true. But opportunities, the word there, and those opportunities don't come to the working class, knock at your door. You got to sniff them out, fight for them. Once you get your foot in the door, then you got to get your arm in the door until you finally get your whole body in the door. And where have you arrived? You're not at the top. You're just one little level up. You've made it into the lower middle class, you know. So it's a big, long ladder, and but for working class people, it's a fight. For privileged, it's a gift.
And here you are, a living legend. Are you comfortable with that term?
I guess so. I've seen it printed. It looks okay.
It's not so bad to have before your name. It could be worse.
No. When they start adding the word late, I'll get worried.
Oh, I do want to ask you really quickly, that now we're off the tangent, but that little story you told about Chrissie Hynde was so bizarre and so strange.
Well, I adored her. She had for years been saying to the public that I was one of her major influences. We were appearing in Dallas at a little club. She was in town for a concert, but her concert was later than ours, so she thought she'd come over and see me. She requested a private table for the two of us so we could talk. And I asked the band to respect that. And the band, of course, loving Chrissie Hynde, didn't respect it. They kept interrupting us. We were talking, and every time I wanted to get serious with Chrissie, they would come up and interrupt with some crazy nonsense until she got fed up with it and left. But I was just going to ask her if we could at least just have sex and make a baby, because I believe that our two artistic talents together could really produce some kind of wunderkind. Yeah, and that was my thought.
That's interesting.
You know,
if you got it, why not? Why not?
She's still hot. I don't care what anybody says.
Mitch, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed the book. Again, I appreciate your honesty in it. And it's called Devils and Blue Dresses. And this is Mitch Ryder.
Good night.